Okay, and we are back, which is with what's probably going to be the finale of Everlasting Summer. So, talking with Alisa, she said something tiredly. Imagine that once you fell asleep and woke up in a completely different place. And it's not just a place, but a different time as well. That's what has happened to me. I used to live in the early 21st century in a city far away from here. I was somewhat older than I look now. I used to have my own life, whether it was good or bad, but my own. And once I took a bus, fell asleep, and woke up here. As a 17-year-old pioneer. Alisa looked at me in surprise. And you expect me to believe you? Exactly. I don't know, it's up to you. Actually, it wasn't easy for me to tell you that. You are a master of stories, really. Just a sec. I rummaged through my pockets and showed her my phone. To my greatest surprise, there was still some battery, and the screen was glowing brightly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that thing was meant to go out a few days ago, but anyway. Have you ever seen things like this? Do you have something alike? I held it out to Alisa. She fidgeted with it, pressing buttons. Well, some kind of imported foreign toy, so what? Foreign capitalist toy, that's what it is. It's not a toy, it's a telephone. And where are the wires? Where's the handset? Oh dear, she laughed. There's no need for them. Unfortunately, I can't demonstrate to you how it works because they're still not invented in your time. Yeah, sure, she said skeptically and handed me my phone back. Anyway, it's your decision to believe me or not. I told you all this only to explain the position that I'm in now. I still don't know what will happen to me in an hour, yet such decisions. Fine, you don't have to say anything anymore. And you don't have to make any decisions. She got up and shuffled some firewood into the fire. If I've offended, nah, everything's fine, she said coldly. I understand. You're a guest from the future, so simple girls like me don't interest you. You got me wrong. No, I didn't. It's a very credible, logical, and above all, truthful tale. Every girl would dig it. So you still think that I'm making up excuses? Lisa kept silent. Or that I'm gone completely mad. One can expect anything from you. Why do you have to be like this? I said sadly. What about me? I've done nothing bad. She grinned spitefully. Just imagine that it's all true and understand why I behave so... I already imagined, understood. I was about to say something else, but a horn sounded from the road. There was a bus on the roadside. What timing, eh? What incredible timing. A liaise on a regular route. Regular route, eh? Yes. It's odd that we haven't noticed its approach. At last, salvation. Let's go? Alisa asked in completely bland, emotionless voice. Yeah, sure. I grabbed the backpack. I can manage it myself. She took it from me. It was obvious that it was too heavy for her, but I didn't object. Exactly, it's easier than us carrying it. Soon we bobbed peacefully on the back seat of the bus. Various feelings fought inside of me. On one hand, I was glad beyond measure to get to the civilized world. On the other, I was conscience-stricken by the unfinished conversation with Alisa. Conscience-stricken? Sorry that I acted so... You've expected something different. I've expected nothing of you, she replied coldly. I just wanted you to understand. And concerning our relationships, it's meant to be one relationship, but anyway, and concerning our relationship, I like you, really. Glad to hear that. But her voice sounded not so glad. I said it honestly. You see, I don't know what will happen next, but now and here, I guess the last night you liked me even more. No, you misunderstood. Should we repeat it while the driver can't see us? Now there's a plan. Calm down for a second, okay? I didn't even think about it. What's the matter? You want it and I don't care, it's the only thing I'm needed for. Alisa, wait. Okay, I want to sleep. She reclined in her seat and closed her eyes. Wait a sec. I'm sleeping, let's talk later. I didn't object. After all, it's good to take counsel with your pillow. Besides, Alisa needs some time to calm down. Yes, indeed. Take counsel with your pillow, really. Anyway, although of course I was desperate to explain everything to her in a way she'd understand. Well, bravo on the job that he's done so far, that's for sure. But I held back. Still, I was sick at heart. We were alone in the bus. Outside, dark shadows were passing by. Sometimes it was possible to discern a tree, a river, or a power transmission line pillar. Okay. But the landscape seemed not to differ from the one in the camp. Maybe the world is a circle and we are just moving in it. Anyway, the surroundings were the least of my concerns now. I just stared at the floor and thought about tomorrow. What will happen? City, planet, time, all is strange to me. And a further talk of Alisa, who was totally disappointed with me. I can hardly imagine why. Oh, God. Anyway. The process of waiting happens to be more tiresome than its result. And finally, things bound to happen didn't look so important or fearful. Okay. Well, your strength is exhausted, there's just tiredness and emptiness in your soul. Driving into obscurity, fell asleep, great. I thought he was going to go on a bit longer there, but thankfully he didn't. Day... something. It seems I've grown old. The day was over and the hangover should have been long gone, but I still felt sick and dizzy. Despite how hard I tried, I was unable to open my eyes. I just turned to another side. I wonder what awaits me in the district centre. How am I to live? Maybe it's not all that bad. Well, sure, I don't know where to begin, but on the other hand, this world doesn't seem hostile. I know a lot of things here. Everyone speaks Russian. Mother Russia. Either that or they speak mangled English. But anyway, so maybe nothing bad is to happen. Suddenly I felt very sick. Damn it, I thought it was all gone by yesterday evening. I managed to reach the toilet, moving instinctively. After some time, when my dirty business was done, I returned to the room. Then I realized I'm back in my old flat. However, why old? It seemed that nothing had changed during the week of my absence. Even dust layers hadn't grown thicker. Keyboard position, monitor incline, and a stain from a cup of tea on the table caused painful gripe in my retina. Really? Theoretically, a man in a condition like mine shouldn't notice such details. But the entire room drew my attention to the most minor of details, as if it was twinkling of different colours. The socks were thrown around exactly in the same order as they'd been before. The blanket bristled in the unmade bed as it did before. Dirty window, like a cracked kinescope, shows the same view of the street. In vain, I tried to become terrified, or at least scared. Maybe it's a shock effect, post-traumatic syndrome or something like that. After all, several hours ago I haven't thought of returning to the real world. Pioneer Camp, girls, Alisa, mythical district centre, where I would have got if I hadn't woken up in my flat. All that started to seem real to me. Maybe my fantastic vacation to Sovyanok was just a dream. My feet started to rack up the circles around the room. I held my hands behind my back and started to think over everything. Well, actually, he could try to do a bit of a search for Sovyanok and maybe find out about the camp a bit more, or maybe see if, they had records of who attended or something, I don't know. But anyway. So I started to think over everything. Only one thing is clear, I returned as suddenly as I arrived there. Without any reason or logic. Maybe there was some sort of explanation, but it's beyond my, or human, comprehension. Whether those were tricks of interstellar forces, or supreme mind, or government experiments, I believe the last one to be the least probable. They left no clues. If I was unable to find answers in the camp, it would be foolish to expect something to become clearer here. It's just like searching for evidence in a house, burnt to ashes. Even if a crime was committed, all of the evidence was destroyed by the fire. Well, not necessarily. Some might be remaining, but anyway. Maybe if I had skills and equipment of a criminalist, I would find something, but he's just an idiot. But anyway. Memories of the week spent in the camp were all I've got. Yeah, anyway indeed. But it wasn't a dream, I knew it for sure. Hangover was absolutely real, my feelings and emotions were true, rather than composed of dreams. Therefore I've been there, spent a week in the Sovyonok Pioneer Camp, with the camp leader and pioneers, with Alisa. Memories of her made me sigh. It would be great to leave with her. Wait a minute. What's wrong with me? I should be glad I returned home to the real world. Or shouldn't I? For now, I just couldn't evaluate the situation reasonably. I couldn't understand whether I wanted to stay there or to enjoy long expected returning. I noticed a 5 ruble coin on the table. I took it and began to toss it up without any purpose, counting number of heads and tails. A long time ago, maybe in school, I heard that in infinite quantity of experiments, the probabilities are not equal to 50% each. Maybe it's because the coin doesn't have an ideal shape and weight, or because of some other reason. However, after some time I counted 70 heads and 71 tails. Coincidence. So the theory of relativity lies. No, it's fucking chance. But I'm not the man to judge it, I don't know much about it. I recalled my childhood when I heard the word tails for the first time. For some reason I always thought that it means squirrel. Maybe there is some logic in this. A squirrel indeed does have a tail. Strange to me. Okay, evidence. Frequently then heads. Head as well. Exhausted. Indeed, it is rubbish. Thank God I skipped it. On the other hand, what is now the right time for? Well, obviously for checking 4chan. What can I do? What is under my control? If I hadn't approached the solution a jot during the week there, what would be the point of thinking now? I just sat back and sort of relaxed, I guess. But anyway, maybe I should just try to come back to my usual life. Words usual in life were painful to me. Why had I chosen this very description? I could say past, old, or something else. Most obvious answer is that I got used to it, that's why. Custom is your second nature. Last week's events floating before my eyes. Really want to stay there. And yeah, was one week really enough to get used to all of that? No answer to the question, but I already miss it. Though surely I'll never return there. Obviously, I can't know if the force that brought me there might want to entertain itself again. And again, and again. It is possible. But for now I have what I have, an adventure that I'll remember for the rest of my life. God, oh yeah, from Commie Jesus. Indeed. Damn it, how many people have experienced something like that? Not too many. Even books, even dreams about such things are unthinkable. Well, actually, there is Back to the Future and various other things like that, but anyway. The main thing is that it wasn't Dr. Morrow's evil island, but the most usual Soviet pioneer camp with the most usual pioneers. And its commonness was overlaid by the astonishing astonishing origin of my arrival there. Anyway, it's not the worst stage of my life, or maybe one of the best. Obviously, ended halfway through, story has an end. It's good that it ended that way, who knows what else could have happened. Seems a bit anticlimactic. Time passed, events that took place in the camp now seemed more like a once-read, fascinating novel. Indeed. Oh, okay, yes. No, I haven't forgotten them. I could recall them in the finest of details. Remember how as a child I used to lie under a blanket with a flashlight and read a fascinating book about space flights until the dawn. Sometimes I was unable to get up to go to school. Parents always used to scold me for that, while every night approaching I was carefully turning every page, trying to catch every minor detail of the story. I had similar feelings about that pioneer camp. Reality, if I can consider it such, now seems more like a book. I didn't think it was bad at all. In the end, the main thing is to remember, and it is not important whether these memories are in the form of a slideshow, photos, video or audio. He's being very meta at the moment. But anyway, now each bus made me feel both fear and hope. At first I circled along the 410th route without a purpose. Several times I fell asleep on the same seat. But nothing happened, not even a trace of something supernatural. As times went by, I stopped these idle trips. Something changed in my life, it just couldn't do otherwise. A couple of weeks after my return from the camp, I took my guitar that was lying lonely, getting all dusty in a corner. Striking a couple of chords, I remembered Alisa. For me, her image was inseparable from this instrument. At first it didn't work out very well. No talent for music, just started reading teacher self-books and watching video lessons. If it wasn't a burden anymore, I played the chords. Practice makes perfect. Oh, here we go. About half a year later, I realized that I achieved some results. At least I could now smoothly play favorite song parts. Self-satisfied, I published a couple of advertisements on music forums, intending to form my own band. I still had no idea what kind of music I wanted to play. My tastes varied from something really heavy to anime soundtracks. Well, obviously the solution is anime soundtracks. At first it seemed impossible for me. I would have to communicate with strangers, and what if we were just too different? And anyway, how to explain others what music I want to make? But it all worked out much easier. Potential candidates turned out to be not so frightening, and our tastes were mostly the same. After all, we shared the same goals, so lack of understanding, also the issues of lack of understanding were solved. And soon we had a band. Suddenly, I realized my composer talent. Having spent nights and days on the note editor and sequences, I started composing okayish things, at least in the opinion of other band members and pals I showed my songs to. Quite soon we gave our first concert. A D-list club was not significantly more capacious than my bedroom. 3.5 viewers weren't exactly sober. I was hellishly anxious and the sound equipment was constantly malfunctioning. But all of that didn't bother me because I was happy. That's how baby metal was formed. Indeed. Baby metal, eh? Anyway. Since it was just the first step to success. However, we were invited again only after a long time. Indeed. With great difficulty, we managed to record 3 tracks and publish them on the internet. The reviews were far from being overjoyed, but it didn't bother me much. It was just a beginning. Maybe someone was considering our music just a leisure activity or a long-drawn idea, but for me it was serious. After all, it was me who founded the band, and all the music was mine as well. I felt personal responsibility for the fate of my creation. Every spare moment I spent on improving my performance technique, and after a year, I already could confidently say that I wasn't the worst guitarist in the world. And some sort of popularity came. We were giving concerts almost every week and were finally getting paid. It wasn't important there were just 500 rubles per man. But the fact that our work was demanded and one was ready to pay for it, even though we were usually a warm-up for other bands, didn't matter. 500 rubles, eh? I was sitting before a monitor and torturing a guitar. The date of the coming concert was thickly encircled on a computer desktop calendar. The very thought of that gave me goosebumps. It'll be the first time we'll be headliners. And an album presentation as well. I wonder how many discs will be sold. When the hell is this meant to be set? I mean, we've got flat screen monitor in the background, where we've got a cathode ray tube TV in the foreground, and he's talking about selling discs, so a bit of an anachronistic timeline already, but anyway. Alright, I wonder how many discs will be sold. Of course the CD era, was already over, but still there are some who appreciate it. Maybe someone will buy it just to support the band. Okay, 20 bucks in 2009. Okay, so that was 500 rubles apparently. So 500 to 20 bucks. And there you go. I looked at the date once more. Yes, it is exactly a year since I returned from Sovyonok. My smile reflected in a darkened monitor screen. I wonder whether Alisa would like my music if she existed in this world. I don't think so. She preferred Soviet rock classics. But who knows? I played a couple of complicated guitar parts and concluded with a feeling of satisfaction that the sound of my guitar surpasses by far that of the Soviet Ural guitars. My skill overcomes the skill of the same era guitarists. I wonder whether I would have achieved all this without those fantastic events. Unlikely. Nothing strange in fact. Lots of people rethink their life after stepping close to the edge. Surely nothing dangerous was happening back then, but the moral shock is a good substitute for a grave danger. I rehearsed my tunes once more, put the guitar into a case, packed all my stuff and headed to the exit. It was cold outside, just like that day. Slowly I approached the 410th bus stop. Such a coincidence, I'm going to go to the club on this very bus. Yes it is, isn't it? With a sinking heart, I counted off the seconds. Soon the bus arrived. It idly opened its doors and swallowed up a few passengers. It was a winter night, just like back then. Cars flashed by outside with their lights, seemingly fires in the city, which was getting ready to sleep. The closer we were getting to the downtown, the more people were in the streets. Some of them were chattering merrily. Some were gazing on magnificent boutique windows, and some were hurrying somewhere, paying no attention to anything. I thought that I had no wish to return to that camp this very day. Any other time, but not today. I must play the concert, and the rest can go to hell. I had a clear aim, and nothing else mattered. Not bad music, kind of repetitive at this point, but what the hell. The club was considerably bigger than the one of our first concerts, but at the moment it was empty. The sound check was going on. I desperately missed the drums on the monitors, which I'm trying to tell about the sound guy. To the sound guy, maybe. Sound tuned, gadgets installed, set lists on their positions, time to start. But it is a special day. We're not doing the warm-up. The other guys are doing the warm-up before our concert. Thus, our entrance is the last. After I listened to the first band, I noted that they have much to improve. On the other hand, we were no better not so long ago. As time was getting closer to the start of our performance, my tension grew enormous. Come on, I was literally shaking of anxiety. I decided not to listen to the other bands and wait calmly in a makeup room. Judging by their expressions, my mates were in the same mood. We were silent. Actually, we had nothing to talk about. Parts were learned and perfected a long time ago. Only nervousness can hinder us, but we already have some experience, so everything must be fine. At least I comforted myself with this thought. And what do you know, an actual screenshot. And now eventually the time has come. I don't remember how we entered the stage and greeted the audience. My consciousness turned on when the first chords of our first song came from the speakers. Hang on, my consciousness turned on when the first chords of our first song came from the speakers. Okay. While sitting in the makeup room, I heartbreakingly tried to warm my ice-cold fingers, but now they ran from string to string without a slightest mistake, like they were charmed. A thought flashed across my mind. Why didn't I still make a single mistake? Probably because I practiced the hell out of it. Anyway, when I played all these parts at home or during rehearsals, I never thought of it. Everything seemed a matter of course. But now, when I stood in front of an audience, it felt different. Somewhere deeply in my mind, there was a thought that soon my finger will slip, and thank goodness thinking wasn't interfering with the playing. Our performance was nearing the end, and now it was time for a difficult solo I was learning for so long. By that point, my nervousness vanished, and I played through it perfectly, even better than during the rehearsals. Finally, our performance was over, and the music hall burst with applause. I smiled awkwardly, at least I thought so, bowed several times with the rest of the band. They shouted encore to us. Even without them shouting, I would be glad to play something in addition, but we ran out of songs as we were just a newly formed band. I'll just rip off from someone or something. But anyway, no rip off, no. Euphoria prevailed in the makeup room. We congratulated and hugged each other. No rip off then. Anyway, the sound of opening champagne bottles was echoing in the halls. All discs were sold, and it made me even happier. Eventually, I managed to become something too. It's impossible to predict the future of our band or the whole affair with music. But one thing was clear. I finally found something I'm interested in, and I can dedicate my entire time to. As well as that, I see that it may please someone besides me. Probably I was now the happiest man on the earth. The happiest, eh? That's not an exaggeration. At least it surely was the best moment in my life, indeed. The club is empty, instruments are packed, so I'm to wait for others and may go home. I glanced at the stage where I was standing just an hour ago. Once again, joy and pleasure. Once again, joy, pleasure, and excitement gripped me. For sure, I'll appear on this stage more than once. Maybe more serious stages, like concert halls and Olympic stadiums, are to be expected, who knows. Everything is possible now. After saying goodbye to my mates, I ran to the bus stop and luckily caught the 410th bus. Nobody was inside. I took a seat behind the driver, just like back then. Some familiar melody sounded from a radio set. Maybe one day my songs will also be played on the radio. In some way, these days' trips were similar to the events that took place a year ago. These day trips were similar to the events that took place a year ago. Obviously now everything is expected, achieved by working hard. It is a planned result. But I'm coming back being another person. A person who has now changed. How philosophical. Very philosophical indeed. Achievement unlocked so hardcore. And we also got Alisa bad end. That's the Steam message that I got there, although OBS is not going to display that. Okay, so that actually counts as the bad ends from Alisa. Well, how the hell do I get the fucking good ends then? Well, anyway. Well, for a bad end, that wasn't too bad. Every story has its beginning and its end. Every story has its own outline, synopsis. Oh, I know, for fuck's sake. Yeah, you didn't pay attention to. Beginning, yeah, almost every. Okay. Almost every were his last words there, in case it's actually the very last words in the story. Ah, there we go. Soviet Games team, Tuchan Aero's team, wants to thank you for playing this game. Special thanks to Python for RenPy Engine. Actually, not bad engine. I might actually look into that. RenPy Engine. I wonder if it's available. FreeSounds.org for the free sounds. iichan.hk to chan.hk. CommunityVK.com. ElasticSummer.official. All the guys who helped with developing the game, and all the guys who supported us all these years, who kept waiting and believing. Thank you and goodbye for now. End. Well, there you have it. Wow, not bad actually, not bad. It's not often that I come back to the same game 2 days in a row, basically. What the hell, nosebleed? Anyway, not often that I come back to the same game 2 days in a row, just to see how it ends actually. But yeah, I dare say that was actually worth it. Wouldn't have minded actually getting the good ending, but pretty good overall though. I mean, the monologue of the main character suddenly went on for a bit, and he did some incredibly stupid things and all that. But and the translation could have been a bit better. Overall, though, I would have to rate that probably an 8 out of 10, actually, especially considering that it was entirely free. Wait a minute, I didn't notice this thing here before. Oh, achievements. Why the hell does it have Steam achievements? Steam achievements. I think they're Xbox Live achievements, not Steam achievements. We can synchronize with Steam, apparently. Okay. Unlocked. Ah, here we go. So hardcore. Alisa bad, yes. What the? Oh, whoops, it's going to do it again. I think. Is it? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. Whoops. Okay, let's go to the main menu then. So, yeah, just fucking go. Okay, so that's just for achievements, apparently. So I don't know why we have the Xbox Live achievements there. We should have gotten rid of that, given this is released for the PC and for Steam, but anyway. So yeah, that was one of the several endings that are available for this game, and yeah, I dare say I'll try to get the other endings. Whether or not I'll actually record that, not 100% sure, to be honest. In either case, yeah, I think I'll be skimming over quite a bit of the text that I've already gone through before, and, you know, just to get to the new stuff, and what the hell, we'll see what endings we can get without going through the guides. And what do we have here? Oh, there's so much more in other routes, Kappa. Okay, well that's good, actually, so, yeah, that's it for now, though. I'll almost certainly be, you know, doing everything I can to explore the other routes. You know, just to see what will happen. They might, you know, reveal a bit more about the overall situation. But there you go. We'll just switch over to the main view. Okay, there we go. So for YouTube people, I shall see you all some other point, I suppose. So there you go.